Yeah, no, I must say that's what I love about the industry and the specific direction that I chose in life is that what I'm doing is in the back of your mind, you're not just fixing something, you're fixing an aeroplane, and people need to be safe in the aircraft, in the air and in the ground, on the ground. They need to. Um, so yeah, it's that constant pressure or that realization every day that you're not just doing another job, you making sure people travel and fly around safely.
Franco, good morning. It's so lovely to meet you here on Zoom.
Morning, Petra. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I hope we're going to have some meaningful conversations today.
Yeah, it's so interesting. You are a flight engineer. Is that right?
Yeah, so yeah, that's correct. So basically, it's in the industry, it's called an aircraft maintenance engineer, and then in short, we refer to as AMEs.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And now tell me about this job. What does that all entail? So what do you do?
So Petra, long story short, we just like you when you would take your vehicle, your vehicle that you drive is due for a oil change inspection based on the certain amount of mileage or kilometers that you've driven. The same as it with aircrafts; they need to be maintained and looked after in certain ways. So, like if you were the owner of an aircraft, you it differs from aircraft to aircraft, but each aircraft, um, as per the manufacturer's recommendations, a scheduled amount of hours that you are allowed to fly before it needs to be taken in for maintenance. So um, after you've flown those hours out, then you bring the aircraft in, you schedule it in for maintenance, and then we basically are called, how can I put it, aircraft mechanics, because we do all the maintenance. So the aircraft arrives, we inspect it outside, um, we do the engine runs, we, how can I put it, um, sorry, let me just, so yeah, basically
Yeah.
we make sure that the aircraft is safe to travel in and safe to fly with once you bring it in
Well,
and you take it.
you're talking about you're comparing it with a car, but I'm sure an aircraft is much more complicated. The whole all the mechanics that you have to check for an aircraft.
No, definitely is. That's why I said long story short, that's basically what we do, but it's a lot more in depth than people actually know about. It's actually a side of aviation that the outside people don't know a lot about, and how much effort and problem solving and logistics goes into planning and getting the aircraft back in the air as quickly as possible, but also when it is safe and airworthy. So,
and yeah, this is one of the reasons why I wanted to speak to you as well, because I think it is true that aviation is very much a bit mysterious to us, because we get to the airport and we see certain things, you know, you use that you have to do, and but you never see the behind the scenes things, and we are always so quick to be disappointed when when there's a delay, or when you're stuck on the airplane and it cannot fly or something like that. And yet you guys are doing everything behind the scenes to make sure that our safety is paramount.
yeah, no, that's correct. So, Petra, if with regards to that, there's so many different areas of aircraft maintenance. So for the commercial maintenance, like that you're mentioning, when you sit on the airplane, you're ready to depart, you're going overseas, flying abroad, and then all of a sudden, pilot announces, "Ladies and gentlemen, passengers, sorry for the delay, slight maintenance issues, and then so those guys on the ground, that's called line maintenance. So when it's on the flight line, that's mostly in commercial aviation, maintenance engineering. Then where I work is then general aviation, smaller aircrafts, but not that small. And mostly these aircrafts are used for personal use. Owner flies around, does what he needs to, travels everywhere, or charter. Charter is also a big industry at this stage. Always been, but especially in South Africa, the chartering industry with regards to aviation is big. So,
so you have to know every single aspect of the aircraft. You have to know every screw, I don't know what the terminology is, but you have to know everything that's inside the engine as well.
To a certain extent, yes, because that's also why there's documents that's called maintenance manuals, which the manufacturers draw up in the process of when they plan to produce a new aeroplane. These maintenance manuals gets drawn up with hourly intervals. Everything they need to know how any system works is laid out in the maintenance manual, top to bottom. In the maintenance manual, you get the procedures. So that's how we carry out the work, is in accordance with a certain maintenance manual, and the maintenance manual has revisions as well. So the manufacturer itself, after there's changes or the new aircraft comes out and they realize, okay, this system needs fault finding more often, then it's a new revision. Then you have to, when you do your documents or you sign out the aircraft, then from there on, you have to say in accordance with the newest revision. So that's also and one of the biggest things as well to this is not just the physical work, it's the paperwork as well. A huge amount of paperwork with regards to doing it the correct way. So
well, I can along with
with your question, knowing each bolt and nut and all that, you get with a maintenance manual get something that's called the IPC, Index Parts Catalog. So it works very fluently on PC or iPad or whatever system you're using. So you get 88 chapters. So for example, 88 chapter 32 is landing gear, and that's standard all over the world. So if somebody talks about 88 chapter 32, everybody knows, okay, 32 is landing gear. So you'd go to the Index Part Catalog and you go look, and it has figures. It figures an explosive view of a specific area or component. So you get under A88 chapter, you get a drop-down list of items that are related to the landing gear. So then you get nose, main gear, wheels and brakes, etc. Then you can go there, drop down the list, look at the figure. Okay, that's the area I'm working on. This is where I need to replace a corroded screw, for example, or a bolt or an actuator, and then from there on. So yes, but aside to answer your question of knowing about everything, that's where the physical experience comes in, the hands-on working in the industry for quite some time.
Yeah, and I think it's also a great responsibility, because if and that's probably why you have to do all those paperwork, because you are responsible then when something goes wrong, and you had to check it.
Yeah, no, I must say that's what I love about the industry and the specific direction that I chose in life, is that what I'm doing is in the back of your mind, you're not just fixing something, you're fixing an aeroplane, and people need to be safe in the aircraft, in the air and on the ground. They need to so yeah, it's a constant pressure or that realization every day that you're not just doing another job, making sure people travel and fly around safely.
And you are, but the safety aspect of it, is that something additional that you have to learn, or is this part of your job?
So with regards to that, and going from where a person just enter, or if a person needs to or wants to become an aircraft maintenance engineer, there's specific requirements, specific courses, tests, and also time frames which you have to adhere to. Then that's also obviously stated. It's different in different countries. In South Africa, for example, you get South African Civil Aviation Authority, CAA. Then in other countries, you get FAA, which is Federal Aviation Authority. So based on the laws, you have to do certain courses. So with regards to the safety, you get a course called, for example, human factors. Now, human factors has to do with all the human errors that can occur or happen when, for example, you going to work on a Monday or Tuesday and you had 3 hours of sleep. That's human factors. That also, so yeah, so all of that adds on to the safety. So yes.
Yeah. And then you said there's a certain amount of, so are you also tested frequently? I mean, do you also have to do upgrading tests and things like that on a regular basis?
Yes, and also no. By yes, meaning it depends from company to company, but most of the majority of companies require, or just out of the Civil Aviation Authority requirements, it's required that people do either familiarization courses on the specific aircraft or engine you work on, and on a yearly or 2-year basis. So that's how you keep up with the newest safety requirements as well.
But now, it fascinates me also to think, why specifically did you want to do this in aviation? Because you're obviously very interested in the mechanical side of things. So why in aviation?
Yes, Petra. And so the story is about 4 or 5 years ago when I finished school. I had no clue what I wanted to do at all. And my dad used to work at a small helicopter company that manages helicopters and so on around here. And from there on, I didn't really know much of, well, he got that job about a year before I finished school. So he was also just helping out because he lost his previous job. So he got another job there. And he used to bring home the magazines like African Pilot or Aviation National magazines. And then I started reading through them, and it got my interest. And from there on, we started doing research on how I can maybe get into the aviation industry. My dad actually asked the people he was working for, can my son maybe come and just help out a bit, hands on, try and just to see if he maybe likes us, or while he's trying to figure out what he wants to do in life. And then they came back to him, and according to law in Southern Africa, you can't just have any random or stranger working on the aircraft, because the company he was working for didn't do the maintenance specifically. So you get an AMO, which is Aircraft Maintenance Organization. You have to be registered with our Civil Aviation Authority. And through that, the guys at work said to him, but your son can this a course that you can do for this industry. So from there on, we did some research, phoned around, asked around, and I started. Basically, my parents asked me, "Oh, are you gonna go for this? Do you want to try this?" And I said, "Well, if I don't try, I don't know." So
yeah,
And at that point, I didn't really know what I want to do. So I said, let's do it. So I did the course, 10-month course of basic training. And it's basically, how can I put it, 10 months of school, of theory, and 2 months practical then.
Mm-hmm.
Did that course, the practical, and then after that, you can apply for at any company to do your apprenticeship training. And as I went along, nothing actually like stopped me, or I never stopped and thought, okay, well, I'm not enjoying this at all. Mm-hmm. So every day has been a learning process for me. And from there on, fast forward 5 years later, I'm still in the industry and I'm loving what I'm doing.
Amazing. So it just, yeah, so it just came on your way and you decided to do that. But do you have,
yes.
Yeah, do you have you had an interest in engineering? Because you must have some sort of interest in working with your hands or this practical type of thing. Have you always been like
that? Definitely. Ever since I was a small kid, with toy cars and stuff, I used to take them apart and try and figure out how it works, or how this system powers this system, or how a small remote control car, I used to try and see if I can maybe put extra batteries in it to make it go faster, and all of that ever since. Yeah. So, yes,
So this is yeah. This is your thing. Yeah, I've read a book once where the guy said that if you find your flow, if you find that thing that you enjoy, and you just want to know more and you want to get into that, then it's your thing. And so it seems to be that this is yours.
Yeah, no, that's true. When you go through a whole week of work and it doesn't feel like work, or suffering, or putting in too much effort, or going to work and being like most 8 to 5 working people, if they don't enjoy what they're doing, when it comes to Sunday afternoon, Sunday evening, they start thinking, oh, tomorrow's Monday again. Oh goodness. Yeah. So for me, my job in the aviation industry has become a lifestyle. It's basically, if I can put it that way, it feels like I'm acting out a hobby of mine, but every day.
Amazing. That's amazing. But now it's so what is the next for you? Is it something that you can, so because you were talking about bigger airlines, so is that something that you can work towards?
I think it depends it differs from individuals, what and where you want to go, the type of work you want to do. So the commercial aviation industry is a whole different game, all different game that you're going to play or be working with. And like I said, it depends from person to person what you're looking for. For me, I'd say, because it's now been 5 years and I'm now reaching a point in my life where I, as an individual, can have more responsibility of signing out the aircraft based on all my examinations that I passed a couple of months and all that. So I'm reaching a point where I've got more control and more responsibility, and that's what I aim for. That's what I'm specifically aiming for, is to be in control of people, but in a meaningful way, being a uplifting leader and delegating and looking after the people that work with you. So for me, the more responsibility I have, the happier I am.
That's amazing. And wonderful that you see also the leadership that way.
No, it is. It definitely, for me as a individual, I'm very how can I put it? I'm very driven to be a positive and uplifting leader, and have an influence and build into people's lives, whoever I'm working with, so that one day when the bigger picture, the bigger plan one day to be my own business owner is to have people looking up to me, not as a boss, a scary boss, or CEO or director, whoever, that they can't tell him, sorry, I've broken this, or I've damaged this, but someone they can look up to and be comfortable coming to have a discussion with me. So yes.
Amazing. But now in your job also, it must be wonderful to work also. Do you have communication with, say, for instance, the pilots who fly these planes?
Yes. This and my side of aviation, the general aviation industry where I'm working at, compared to commercial, is a lot more people, communication and direct contact with the pilot. So, for example, what will happen on a daily basis for me is the aircraft's due for its maintenance, so the pilot slots it in for the books it off at the charter company or wherever, and the pilot brings the airplane. We go up to the airplane, greet the pilot, and speak to him about any snags or defects or issues that he experienced while flying the aircraft. Anything with a gear, from landing gear to engine to electronics to avionics equipment. So yes, I deal with the pilots. We deal with the manufacturer itself for when we don't know, when a specific snag or issue is a bit out of our hands, and we've done what we can from our side, done the research, went through the maintenance manual, then we can contact technical support, and from there on, we solve the problem. So.
Well, Franco, you have such a great outlook on things, and I can just imagine you are also good in communicating like that. And it's wonderful to hear your story. It's wonderful to hear about this job, because it is something that we don't know much about. And thank you so much for sharing this all with me.
It's a pleasure, Petra. Anytime. Yes. It is, like you said, an unknown area, unknown to the public, of how much effort and time and also problem solving goes into the maintenance side.
Yeah.
So yes.
I'm just thinking, if somebody if somebody wants to become a flight engineer, what would your recommendation be? What would you say to a young guy who wants to now say, hey, I'm going to give it a go?
I would recommend that if you're looking at going into the maintenance side of aviation, that you start by maybe, as a matter of fact, anything that you want to do, a dream you want to chase, or if you don't really know what entails or what actually happens in the specific job that you're going to do, I would say start maybe by job shadowing at a company. So if you're still in school, it's school holidays, and you know someone, or you can contact someone that is in the industry and follow them around for a day or two, or maybe a week even, see what they do, experience, try and help where you can, assist. And from there on, I would say then it's up to you to make the decision if you like it. Because, I mean, you have to go on that gut feeling of what you like and not what other people want you to become. You have to try and find out what your passion is and what you like to do. So yes, job shadowing would be the first one to do, and experience hands-on at a place that does the work or does maintenance, experience it. From there on, it depends which country you're from. You have to just then do some research on where you need to start. It's most of the places you need to start with a training program, or other countries you can even go to some aircraft manufacturers have a apprenticeship training program where you can enlist, almost like going to university, but you then go, instead of doing university, you go through this training organization and you learn the ins and outs, because you first need to understand what's going on, understand how aeroplane stays in the air, how the engine works. Not just that, the physics of, for example, Newton's laws of physics plays a big role in lift of an aircraft and propulsive forces and action, reaction, all of that. So yes.
So you have to have some interest in science.
Yes, I would say you have to know the physics of it. You have to be a person that when you see a figure or in a handbook or notebook, the layout of, for example, an engine, and when they talk about the forces that act on the internal compressor blades going onto the turbine blades, and from there on the burner and diffuser section, you have to, how can I put it, snap what's going on there.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Clearly, I won't be able to do that job. But Franco, have a wonderful day. Just tell me, where are you based, in Johannesburg or Cape Town?
In Johannesburg. Well, I work in the Johannesburg area, but I live in Pretoria. It's close to Johannesburg, so that's where I'm based. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, amazing. Well, have a wonderful weekend, and thank you so much for your time, for talking to me, and really all the best with your future. I follow you on LinkedIn, so I will see what's up with you when how things are, because I see you post also.
Thanks, Petra. Yes, I appreciate your time, and yes, I do post often. I try and use LinkedIn as a way of it. Basically, for me, LinkedIn is a form of advertising yourself and who you are, what you do to the world, what you do in the world. So, yes.
And I think it's great. This is how I found you. So that's great that you did that.
Perfect.
It's lovely. It's very inspirational how you got to do this job, and so thank you so much. And
thanks, Petra.
Yeah. Okay, Franco. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.